Single mom bravely brought her child to an interview. What the CEO revealed changed everything. Sarah straightened her back, heart racing as she clutched Tommy's small hand. The gleaming glass entrance loomed before them like a tower of fate. Today, everything hung in the balance. She was a single mother in a chaotic world, living day to day, always juggling her 2 jobs while tirelessly pushing through evening classes at the community college. Each whispered judgment about her struggles echoed in her mind. But today was different. Today, she had a shot at a future if only she could get through this door. Mom, what is that shiny part? Tommy's bright-eyed curiosity tugged her from her thoughts. He was as innocent as they come, blissfully unaware of the weight of their reality. A simple touch of wonder amidst her chaotic life. She knelt, forcing a smile. That's where they make big decisions, buddy. Important ones. Her walls crumbled a little with each laugh they shared as they entered. The polished floors reflected sharp lights beaming down from the sleek ceiling. Every person clad in tailored suits, dynamism pouring from their confident strides. Acutely aware of her jeans and tired appearance, Sarah swallowed the lump of anxiety lodged in her throat. She had left her usual babysitter, Mrs. Rodriguez, in a bind and wouldn't let this opportunity slip through her fingers. She shielded her worries with Tommy's laughter as he pointed at the enormous screens flashing graphs a child taking in a world he barely understood. Before they could even settle, a wave of insecurity washed over her. And yet, amidst that, hope flickered. As she took the seat across the CEO, a gruff figure shaped by experience and success, Sarah felt a surge of determination. The conversation began with formalities, but then an unexpected warmth filled the air. The CEO leaned in, curiosity in his eyes. "What is your story?" he asked, genuine interest replacing corporate bravado. Her heart thudded heavier in her chest. She opened up, detailing the weight of 2 jobs, squeezing in classes, and the relentless push to ensure her son had a better life. "I want to break the cycle, to show him he can dream bigger," she admitted, the room around them fading as her words flowed. Tommy shifted restlessly, eyes darting around the room, innocence battling confusion. A soft glance from the CEO softened her own anxieties. As he watched Tommy's wide-eyed exploration of the office, Sarah caught a glimpse of understanding inside him. He wasn't just looking at the workplace, he saw a possibility. Just as hope illuminated the dimmest corners, the CEO shifted. "You know, they talk about professionalism, but it seems we've forgotten something. Hardworking parents like you, Sarah, have stories that matter, tales of perseverance, hope, and most importantly, family." His voice rang out as a challenge to the staleness that so often plagued corporate landscapes. The room buzzed. He wasn't following the rules. He was creating change. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." With his words igniting newfound hope, Sarah felt the room shift. Eyes turned, ears opened. A pin drop could be heard in the silence as her struggles resonated. Would they recognize the importance of a mother's fight? The realization hung in the air. This was not just an interview. It was a pivotal moment, a spark of hope for change out there in the world. Yet doubt crept in. Would her narrative open doors for both her and all those parents fighting alone? As the silence stretched, the CEO leaned closer, a flicker of determination igniting in his eyes. "Let us talk about what could be," and with that, everything on the verge of transformation. Would this be the moment they all needed? The air crackled with possibility, leaving the room waiting for the answer that might change everything. The air felt electric as Sarah held her breath, every ounce of her being focused on the CEO's next words. The clock ticked loudly behind her, each second a reminder of the weight of the moment. She could sense Tommy growing restless beside her, but she kept her gaze locked with the CEO, desperate to convey her hopes without words. He leaned back slightly, his fingers steepled before him. "Sarah, let me put it this way. You're not just looking for a job. You're looking for a chance to create a legacy for Tommy, one built on your hard work and dreams. Sarah felt the tears threaten as she realized he really understood what this fight was for. It was more than just survival. It was about carving out a place for Tommy in a world full of hurdles. Exactly, she breathed out, emotion cracking her voice. I want him to know he can achieve anything. That hard work pays off. The words poured out like a dam breaking, all the fears and hopes spilling into the room around them. She hadn't expected to feel so vulnerable, but sharing this part of herself felt freeing. The CEO nodded, his face softening. In that essay story, we want to promote authenticity, resilience. Let us be real. There is a huge gap in this industry when it comes to understanding our communities. His eyes sparkled, and Sarah could almost see the wheels turning in his mind as ideas swirled around them like a gentle wind. Tommy's voice, small and sweet, broke through. Mommy, can I draw on that big board? The board was white and expansive, a stark contrast to the business world around them. The CEO's smile widened. Why not? He replied. Let the artist in him express himself. We can keep this meeting light, can't we? With a nod from Sarah, Tommy stood and trotted over, excitement bubbling in every step. He picked up a marker and started to draw with joyous determination, broad strokes of color bouncing off the canvas. Sarah watched him, filled with pride as she realized he was bringing his own piece of art into this serious space. The CEO turned, completely engrossed in Tommy's creative explosion. See this right here? This is what it's all about. Children remind us of the joy and imagination we often lose as adults. Sarah felt a flush of warmth at the sight of her son bringing a smile to the CEO's face. More than she ever could alone. It was in that moment of shared laughter and lightness that the CEO leaned in once more, his voice softer but charged with resolve. How about we start an initiative that highlights stories like yours? Stories of triumph against the odds. You could lead it, Sarah. I want to give you a platform. Her heart raced at the enormity of his offer. A chance to share her story, to advocate for mothers like herself. It could open doors they had never thought possible. But the weight of the endeavor also pressed down. Could she handle it? Before she could respond, a quick knock echoed through the office. The HR manager entered, clipboard in hand, eyes darting from Tommy's artwork to the scene unfolding. We're ready for that presentation, sir, she said, tone clipped, as if trying to regain control in the wake of this unexpected warmth. Sarah's stomach dropped. Whatever she had felt was now caught in the web of corporate protocol. Would the moment they had shared the laughter, the understanding fade away into just another meeting? But just as uncertainty threatened to rob her of hope, the CEO shot her a reassuring look. We'll get to it shortly, he replied, confidence ringing through his voice. Let us finish the conversation first. The room seemed to inhale, pregnant with possibility. Sarah's mind raced, the stakes rising higher than she had imagined. Would this be the springboard she needed, or would another opportunity slip through her fingers? Let us talk about this initiative together. His words were a lifeline, and she grasped on tightly, but the shadows of doubt loomed. In that electrifying moment, everything hinged on the next words to be spoken, both ours and his. What they decided here could alter the course of her life, and even Tommy's future. Would they take the plunge into uncharted waters, or would fear anchor them down? Sarah took a deep breath, grounding herself as she focused on the CEO's expectant gaze. The air between them seemed thicker with every passing second as she pondered his invitation. Could she really lead this initiative? Would she have the strength to amplify her voice, to tell her story and the stories of others in her situation? A sense of urgency prickled at her skin. That sounds amazing, she managed to say, her voice steady despite the racing heartbeat in her chest. But leading such a project, it feels monumental. The truth hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. Monumental can be beautiful, the CEO replied, a grin lighting up his face. Think of it as a mountain daunting at first, but once you're at the top, the view is life-changing. Stars swirled in his eyes, and Sarah couldn't help but feel the light he radiated. His unwavering enthusiasm was almost contagious. Tommy laughed from across the room, the vibrant colors he was drawing dancing in his small hands. Sarah turned briefly to him, her heart swelling with pride at his unfiltered spirit. In that moment, his joy became her fuel. A flicker of determination ignited inside her. All right, she said, her voice more assured. Let us dive deeper into what this initiative could look like. The words flowed with renewed energy as they began brainstorming. With every idea shared, she envisioned herself leading workshops for other moms, sharing resources, creating a community that felt impossible just days before. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The HR manager's gaze darted around the room, her clipboard now a shield in her hands. "Excuse me, sir," she interjected, clearly eager to regain a grip on the situation. "We really need to focus on the presentations. We're running behind schedule." The CEO raised a hand to pause her. "I hear you, but this should take priority. The future of our company lies in authenticity and connection." His voice held an authority that pushed back against the constraints of convention. Sarah felt a thrill ripple through her. He was fighting for her. What if the words stumbled over each other in her excitement? What if the presentation includes the launch of this initiative? We can share the vision, get everyone on board. A spark of surprised admiration flickered in the COS's eyes, and she could feel Tommy's gaze turn toward her, his innocent belief in her radiating warmth. The HR manager appeared conflicted, torn between protocol and the undeniable energy that had built in the room. "That's an interesting idea," the CEO said thoughtfully, scratching his chin. "If we present them with a future that looks brighter, they'll want to be a part of it." Sarah's heart leaped at his approval. This could be her moment, the launch pad for something greater, not just for her, but for so many others who fought against their own storms in silence. "That's why we need this initiative," she said, the passion evident in her voice. "The stories of real people, the struggles we face, should lead our message." Her boldness caught them both off guard. The HR manager settled on an indecisive frown, while the CEO's eyes gleamed brightly, like he'd just discovered gold. "Let us refine this together," he said, an infectious grin spreading across his face. "It's time to make an impact." As they launched into a creative whirlwind, Sarah's spirit soared. They were crafting something new, something powerful. But even amid this breakthrough, a whisper of doubt lingered at the edges of her mind. Could she handle this wave of opportunity? Then, as if sensing her uncertainty, Tommy piped up joyfully, "Mommy, you're going to be a hero." The simplicity of his words cut through the tension, reminding her of why she had started this fight. She wanted to be a hero for Tommy, and now, she had a chance to be one for others as well. But just as excitement bubbled over, a shadow flickered across the CEO's face. "Of course," he said, looking serious now, "but we will also need to address the backlash that might come with it." The words struck Sarah hard. The stakes were higher than she had realized, and she felt the weight of the world rest on her shoulders again. Would she stand tall against the adversity, or would this flame extinguish before it even began? Suddenly, the room felt smaller, echoing with the unasked questions of what could go wrong. Yet, with Tommy's drawing a vibrant burst of color in the background, Sarah looked into the CEO's determined gaze and knew she had to find the answer. The CEO leaned forward, his face serious yet filled with unwavering support. "Let us take this one step at a time, Sarah. The backlash can be daunting, but remember, every movement starts with a single voice. Your story could inspire many." Her heart raced again, but this time it was mixed with a cocktail of nervousness and exhilaration. She took a moment, letting the weight of his words settle in her mind. "What if we began by sharing my journey? The struggles I faced as a single mom," Sarah suggested, her voice steadying. "If others can see themselves in my story, maybe they'll feel empowered to share theirs too." The HR manager, still standing in her corner, appeared increasingly uneasy but not entirely dismissive. "That could resonate, but we need to ensure what?" Sarah interjected gently. "That we don't rock the boat too much. Change requires us to shake things up." As her eyes sparkled with determination, she could almost see Tommy scribbling furiously on his paper, his little fingers working hard to create a masterpiece in the background. She could feel his spirit urging her on, bolstering her courage. "What if we framed it as a positive movement?" the CEO suggested, a thought glimmering in his eyes. "People love to champion causes that uplift others." "I love that," Sarah exclaimed. "We can show our audience that there is strength in vulnerability, that every experience contributes to our strength." The conversation flowed seamlessly from there, an energy circulating among the three of them. Plans developed like wildflowers in spring. One idea blossomed after another. Workshops, sharing circles, outreach programs, all playing into a larger vision. But as they sketched their dreams on the board, a familiar pang of anxiety cut through her excitement. What if she failed? What if the public reacted negatively? Look, the CEO said, breaking her thoughts. Every great leader faces criticism. We can't let fear stop us from trying. He stood tall, his confidence infectious. Sarah nodded, but felt the dread pull tighter around her heart. What if they don't understand? What if I'm putting everything on the line and end up failing? Then we adapt, the CEO replied, his gaze steady. We don't let failure define us, Sarah. This initiative is for the people, and it's larger than just us. The raw emotion in his voice sent chills down her spine. She could hear Tommy giggling in the background, lost in his own world. His innocence reminded her of what really mattered. Mommy, he exclaimed, picking up his masterpiece. Look, I made you a hero. Sarah's heart swelled. In his tiny hands was a drawing of her, big cape and all, ready to take on the world. You're right, buddy, she chuckled, wiping a tear from her eye. Heroes do stumble, but they get back up, don't they? Yes. Tommy cheered, his enthusiasm radiating through the room. The atmosphere lightened momentarily, but it was a raw whisper at the edges of her consciousness that nagged her. Could she truly handle the weight of this responsibility? As they refined their plans and grew this brave idea into something real, Sarah caught a glimpse of the manila envelope resting on the edge of the CEO's desk, marked confidential. A chill ran down her spine, sensing opportunities and dangers intertwined. Let us move forward, but we need to be ready for whatever comes our way, she said, her voice steadier now, fueled by her commitment to this cause. Yet, the moment hung heavily in the air. What kind of backlash were they truly up against? With the meeting coming to a close, the CEO's expression shifted once more. One more thing, Sarah. There's something we haven't discussed about this initiative that could change everything. Her stomach flipped. What was he about to reveal? It felt like the ending of a suspenseful movie, the kind that made you hold your breath in anticipation. As her heartbeat quickened, the question loomed in her mind. Would this be the breakthrough they needed, or the beginning of a storm she wasn't ready to navigate? The room settled into an expectant silence. Sarah felt the weight of the CEO's gaze on her, as if he were summoning the courage from deep within her. His calm demeanor was a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her chest. What lay in that envelope? What could possibly change everything? Sarah, he began, slowly opening the manila envelope. You're not going to be alone in this. We're bringing in a team of people who have faced similar challenges. He pulled out a stack of paper, its contents concealed from her view. This is a preliminary list of those we think could be a part of your initiative. Sarah's breath caught. A team? Her thoughts raced as she processed the idea. The prospect was thrilling, yet terrifying. Who? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. The CEO slid the papers toward her. These are not just strangers. They are people with powerful stories that echo yours. Some have overcome remarkable odds, others still fighting their battles. They'll add depth to your message. As she scanned the names, a wave of gratitude washed over her. This was more than just a movement, it was a community. A chance to amplify their voices, to shine a light on their struggles and victories. Yet another question loomed, pulling her back into anxious territory. Would they be ready for that? What if they don't want to share? The worry slipped out before she could contain it. They will, the CEO assured her, his eyes reflecting a mixture of resolve and understanding. This isn't just about you, Sarah. It's about all of them. They'll find strength in your vulnerability, just as you will in theirs. Tommy, still lost in his coloring, suddenly looked up. Mommy, can I help? He asked, his innocent enthusiasm shining like the sun. Help? She echoed, the corners of her mouth lifting involuntarily. Yeah, we can all be heroes together, he declared, waving his colorful crayon like a sword. His simple belief sparked a flicker of hope inside her. Could they really be heroes in their own right? Before Sarah could respond, the HR manager cleared her throat, drawing her attention back to the gravity of the situation. We also need to consider how this program will be received by the wider audience, she reminded. The risks, Sarah interrupted, her voice rising. Every risk comes with a reward. We need to focus on why we're doing this. The CEO nodded, clearly impressed by her conviction. Yes, Sarah. Let us embrace the challenge together. Suddenly, her heart raced with a surge of purpose. Facing fear was part of the journey. That's what she wanted to teach not only to herself, but to everyone who felt silenced by circumstances beyond their control. The thought of sharing this with Tommy filled her with warmth. But then, a beam of sunlight flickered through the window, illuminating the envelope's edges. Something about it felt ominous. What else is in there? She pressed, her curiosity getting the better of her. The CEO leaned back, the weight of his own decision evident on his face. There's talk of a media launch, he responded slowly. But the details we need to discuss how the world will perceive this. What do you mean? Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. Is there something we need to hide? No, he replied firmly. This is about transparency and authenticity. We need to prepare for the unexpected. Her throat constricted as she pictured the inevitable backlash, criticism tearing down the beautiful fabric they were creating. There was a fragile balance between hope and fear. She took a deep breath, attempting to steady her racing pulse. Mommy? Tommy's voice broke through her thoughts. Are we going to tell everyone I helped? Yes, buddy, she said, blinking back tears. You'll help them understand. Before she could say more, the CEO set the envelope down, the tension palpable. Let us take that first brave step together. Sarah felt the swell of courage within, but the uncertainty still loomed. Could they really face the storm ahead? As she nodded with a newfound resolve, a thought flared in her mind. Would this be the moment they all transformed, or the beginning of a struggle she couldn't predict? Remember, Sarah, the CEO said, leaning in. Every story worth telling comes with a fight. She nodded slowly, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Was she ready to fight? Would they all emerge victorious? Or would this moment lead to deeper uncertainties? As the door creaked open, Sarah felt the weight of the unknown pressing down. What would the world have to say about their journey? And would it be enough to sustain their courage when the criticism came crashing? Tommy looked up at her, bright-eyed and unafraid. His smiling face anchored her in that moment. Together, they took the first step into the abyss. But would they find light at the end? Or would shadows creep in when they least expected? The moments that followed felt like an eternity. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities, swirling like the crayons scattered on the conference table. Tommy clutched at her leg, the warmth of his small body grounding her amid the storm of emotions. The CEO stood, gathering the papers. I'll schedule meetings with each potential team member. This will take time, but the effort will be worth it, he said. The certainty in his voice lightened her heart. Okay, Sarah managed, but how do we approach them? This isn't just a project. It's their lives we're talking about. He nodded, running a hand through his hair. We must be open and honest about what we want to achieve, he replied. Invite them into the conversation. Allow them to lead their narratives. Tommy peered up at Sarah, his little hand gently squeezing her finger. Mommy, are we going to help them be brave? His innocent question tugged at her heartstrings. Yes, my love. That's the plan, she replied, her voice stronger. As she turned back to the CEO, he smiled softly as if he understood the emotional weight of their exchange. You're already doing it, Sarah. Just by being here with Tommy, you're showing exactly how transformative this can be. They walked out of the conference room together, the energy shifting with each step. Sarah felt lighter, as if a small, stubborn weight had been lifted. The fear didn't vanish, but now it danced with excitement. In the hub of the office, flashing screens and the hum of conversation enveloped them. People hustled from desk to desk, each absorbed in their tasks. Sarah looked around, trying to imagine how her initiative would resonate with this busy world. Can I help start on the project too? Tommy beamed. I can color in colors that make people happy. Laughter bubbled up inside her. Absolutely. We need all the colors we can find. But as they settled into a small corner, Sarah couldn't shake one thought. What about the fear of the world outside? What if they didn't understand? Would they see the initiative as a weakness or a desperate cry for help? Her phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her back to reality. It was a message from her sister. How'd the meeting go? Can't wait to hear all about it. Just then, Tommy tugged on her sleeve. Mommy, look. He pointed towards a poster on the wall that read, Courage is the beginning of greatness. Exactly, she exclaimed, a shiver of inspiration washing over her. That's what we're going to show everyone. But even as she spoke, a knot formed in her stomach. Courage was one thing, But she knew the outside world could be tough. How did she ensure the team she was about to build would feel supported? Would they be able to stand tall amid criticism? Before she could answer herself, another message popped up. It was from the CEO. Remember, communication is key. We thrive together. He was right. They needed a plan. Stay positive, Tommy, she said softly, pulling her son closer. You're going to be part of something amazing. But as hope flickered in her heart, ominous shadows lurked on the edges of her mind. What if all it took was one voice of doubt to tear their efforts apart? Tommy continued to color, oblivious to the uncertainty gnawing at her. In that moment, she realized her fear was not just her own. Others shared it. The weight of their stories pressed down on her, intertwining with her own. Mommy, Tommy chirped, his crayon pausing mid-stroke. What a challenge. Her heart stalled for a moment. A challenge, buddy, is something that tests us. It can be hard, but it can also be good. If we work together, we can beat the hard parts, right? He asked, his wide eyes gazing upwards. Sweet boy. His belief filled her with warmth. Yes, sweetheart. Together, we can do anything. The thought resonated deep within her. But would that faith hold true when the world came knocking? She inhaled, bracing herself as they prepared to step into the chaotic office once more. This was only the beginning. As the buzz of conversation enveloped them, a thought gripped her. Would she end up building a sanctuary, or an unstable house of cards ready to collapse with every criticism? They took a step forward. Together. But would that be enough to face the inevitable turbulence ahead? The office bustle faded around Sarah as she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of possibility pressing closely against her chest. She glanced down at Tommy, who was humming a tune, his small fingers coated in bright orange crayon remnants. Okay, kiddo, let us find out how we can bring some color to this world, she said, her voice steadying. They maneuvered through the desks, Sarah scanning the faces of her colleagues. Each expression told its own story, some lost in thought, others animated in conversation. She felt a pang of longing. How could she ignite the same enthusiasm in those who would join her project? Can we make a big rainbow, Mommy? Tommy asked, his innocent excitement contagious. Yes, a rainbow for everyone to see, she replied, trying to mirror his joy, yet her mind churned with deeper concerns. The thought of the first meeting, the first introduction to the potential team, sent a ripple of anxiety through her. What if they didn't see the same vision? What if they felt too scared to join? Sarah, hey. It was Maria, her best friend and a talented graphic designer. I heard about your meeting. How are you feeling? Excited but nervous too, Sarah confessed. I'm worried they won't believe in the project. You know, what we're trying to achieve. Maria took a confident step closer. Listen, you're passionate, and that passion is what draws people in. You're bringing them along on this ride together, right? Sarah nodded, but uncertainty lingered. What if they see it differently? If they don't want to talk about their struggles? Tommy got distracted, pointing to a nearby fish tank. Look at the fish swim, Mommy. They're happy. She smiled, watching her son's delight as the colorful fish swirled around. You're right. They are happy, just like we want everyone to be. Then why worry? Maria chimed in. You're creating a safe space. Just remember that it starts with you being vulnerable too. Create the tone with your own openness. Her heart fluttered at the idea. Could being vulnerable strengthen their bond? She felt a warmth of hope blooming between the doubts. Right, Sarah said, shifting her focus. If I show my heart, maybe they will too. As they reached her workspace, she turned to Tommy. What do you think? Do you want to speak at our first meeting? Yes, he exclaimed, grinning wide. Can I talk about the rainbow? Yes, sweetie, you can talk about the rainbow. It'll be special. A new idea sparked in her mind. What if this wasn't just about gathering a team? What if it became a celebration of their stories? Tommy tugged at her sleeve again. Mommy, can we bring some crayons for everyone? Crayons? That is a great idea, buddy. We'll let them express themselves. Suddenly, the chaos around her felt a little less daunting. A wave of anticipation replaced the ache of worry. This could be more than just a project. It could be a movement. As she focused on the preparations, an email alert pinged. It was from the CEO, excited for the kickoff. Remember, celebrating individual stories is how we'll build this. Just that simple note grounded her. This was a shared journey, a collective climb. But as the day rolled on, small whispers of doubt weaved their way back into her heart. What if a discouraging word from the wrong person shattered their new beginnings? The moment came for introductions. She took a deep breath, glancing at Tommy's bright smile. "All right, let us go grab some crayons and paint our dreams together," she said, determination fueling her steps. As they walked to the conference room, thoughts swirled in her mind. Would they find the courage to open their hearts? Would one criticism be enough to snuff out her vision before it had a chance to shine? They reached the door, and Sarah's fingers lingered on the handle. What awaited them on the other side? Her heart raced. Was her vision strong enough to inspire others? Or was she about to tumble into chaos? With one last glance at Tommy's hopeful face, she pushed the door open, ready to face whatever awaited her. The conference room was brightly lit, scattered with colorful sticky notes, and a whiteboard filled with half-formed ideas. As Sarah stepped inside, the buzz of conversation quieted, and a dozen eyes turned toward her. Her heart pounded like a drum, but the sight of Tommy, beaming in his little button-up shirt, somehow steadied her. "Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today," she started, her voice a bit shaky but sincere. "I'm Sarah, and this is Tommy." Tommy waved enthusiastically, earning chuckles from some of the team members. It was a small, simple gesture, but it broke the ice like nothing else could. "Today, we're here to talk about something close to my heart. This project is not just about work. It's about our stories, our struggles, and triumphs as creatives coming together to help each other." She felt her words gain momentum, the weight of her worries lightening just a bit. As she looked around the room, she saw some faces nodding, sparks of interest in their eyes. "Can you tell us about the rainbow, buddy?" Sarah encouraged Tommy, kneeling beside him. He took a deep breath, his small voice ringing with enthusiasm. "The rainbow is all the colors. Everyone has a different color, and when we put our colors together, we make something beautiful." The team broke into smiles, and she could practically feel the warmth spreading across the room. A flicker of hope ignited within her. Maybe this really could be a safe space, a place where they could paint their dreams in vibrant hues together. "So, I thought we could all bring crayons," he continued, "and draw what makes us happy. It can be our start." At that moment, a hand shot up from the back. It belonged to Jake, the team's most seasoned product manager. "I love that idea. But how do we ensure everyone feels comfortable sharing their colors?" Sarah's heart sank for a moment, but then the warmth from Tommy's words pushed her forward. "That's a great question. I think we start by telling our own stories, right here and now," she replied, looking around the room. "Being vulnerable opens the door for others to share. We can talk about what we've faced, personally and professionally. Together, it'll feel less daunting." Maria's voice emerged from the crowd. "What you're suggesting is brave, Sarah. I'd like to share my story about how I got here. It hasn't been easy." As more people began to speak up, their tales spilled into the room like delicate threads weaving a tapestry. Some shared lost dreams, workplace struggles, and even personal losses that shaped them. Others revealed the highs they longed for and the moments they had triumphed. Each story ignited a spark among the listeners, and Sarah felt something warm blossom in her chest. Time melted away, and the atmosphere shifted. The color of vulnerability painted their once stale environment into something vibrant and alive. They laughed, cried, and found common ground in their shared experiences. This was the community she envisioned. As the meeting began winding down, Sarah noticed a change in the room. Instead of stiff postures and guarded expressions, people leaned in, eyes bright with new understanding. She believed they were beginning to feel hope, just like her. Tommy tugged at her sleeve. "Mommy, I feel like we all made a rainbow." Sarah's heart swelled. "Yes, sweetie, we did. A beautiful one." Just then, the CEO entered. His demeanor was warm, but a hint of seriousness edged his voice. "I'm thrilled to hear this openness from all of you. But I'd like to know, what happens when life gets tough again? Can we carry this vulnerability into the challenges ahead?" At that moment, uncertainty crept back into her heart. Could they hold on to this new connection when faced with obstacles? As the room grew quiet, all eyes turned toward Sarah, waiting for her response. The breath she held felt heavy, charged with the reality of facing doubt once more. "Together, we can," she started, but the truth weighed down her words. Would togetherness be enough? She took a deep breath, searching for the right answer, aware that the next steps would define everything. What could she say that would keep this hopeful spark alive? How would she unite them in the face of future uncertainty? The air was thick with anticipation, and she knew she had to respond. Would her words be enough to form a sturdy bridge through turbulent waters? The question hung in the silence, waiting for its own answer. Together, we can navigate the storms, Sarah finally managed, her voice steadying a bit. It's all about reminding ourselves that we're not alone. Each of us brings something valuable to the table, and as long as we have each other's backs, we'll find a way through. A ripple of understanding passed through the room. She could see Jake taking this in, nodding slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing. Maria smiled, a glimmer of assurance in her eyes. The team seemed to breathe as a collective unit, ready to embrace the unknown. The CEO looked thoughtful, his brow furrowing slightly. That is a powerful sentiment, Sarah. He glanced around the room. But let us make sure when life throws us those challenges, we lean into these conversations, even if they are uncomfortable. Can we commit to creating a culture where sharing is not just accepted but encouraged? Tommy, still close by, seemed to sense the weight of the moment. I want to share too, he exclaimed, his eyes wide with eagerness. Amid the surprised looks, Sarah felt a smile bloom on her face. Go ahead, honey. He stood tall, his tiny form radiating confidence. When I was scared of the thunder, I talked to my friends. They said it was just clouds moving. Now I'm not scared anymore. Laughter erupted, and Sarah couldn't help but join in. That innocent bravery held a mirror to the room. The acknowledgement of fear and the power of communication a child could lead the way. Let us channel that spirit, Sarah encouraged. What if we set up regular check-ins? We could do this monthly, where everyone feels safe to talk about what is heavy on their hearts or minds. Yes, someone shouted from the front. We need this. A space where we can be ourselves. The excitement swelled. She could see it now, a way forward, a path paved with their shared vulnerability. They began discussing practicalities, brainstorming how to establish this culture of openness. But in the back of her mind, a quiet concern lingered. Could this enthusiasm endure? What would happen when tough conversations became necessary? The energy of the meeting fed into a sense of hope, but Sarah was still vigilant. She could feel her own anxieties whispering about potential pitfalls, reminding her that it might not always be this easy. As the discussion wound down, everyone felt lighter, connected by threads of shared dreams. Yet, there remained a lingering thread of unease within Sarah. Would they all stay committed when the going got tough? Tommy pulled on her hand again. Mommy, can we draw our rainbows for real? Absolutely, sweetie, she replied, grinning. After this, we'll bring out the crayons and make a masterpiece together. Just before everyone started to disperse, Jake turned to Sarah. I'm in. Count me in for these future sessions. We need to hold each other accountable. You too? Maria chimed in, enthusiasm brimming as she clapped her hands. Imagine what kind of rainbows we could create. Yeah, they'll be brighter than ever, shouted another team member. Their laughter filled the room once more. Sarah felt a spark of determination, a belief starting to kindle within her. But even amidst this joy, a question lingered in her heart. Could they truly sustain this promise? As everyone moved toward the door, her mind raced, anxious and excited all at once. What if the very commitment to openness that united them today also exposed them to deep vulnerability tomorrow? When they stepped outside the confines of the conference room, a sudden wave of uncertainty washed over her. The afternoon sun beamed down, blinding but warm, as if urging her to trust the light. But just then, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Heart racing, she pressed the answer button. What if it was bad news? Hello? She said tentatively, already feeling the worry creep back in. The voice on the other end paused, then spoke with unexpected gravity. Sarah, we need to talk about your role. Time froze. The air around her became electric, palpable with potential. What did this call mean for everything they had just built? Fear trembled within her, but beneath it, a strange flicker of hope started to glow. Would she be ready for whatever was to come? The moment hung thick in the air, around Sarah like a cloak. She stood frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs as the voice on the other end continued. Your involvement in the initiative is crucial, but there are concerns about going public, it said. All at once, she felt the weight of every challenge, every hesitation, resting on her shoulders once more. Concerns? What kind of concerns? She asked, tone firm but betraying a hint of the panic rising within. There are whispers about backlash, the voice warned. Some of the investors feel that sharing personal stories could hurt the company's image. Sarah inhaled sharply, the air in her lungs feeling hot and suffocating. Just when she thought they'd built something beautiful, a storm threatened to unravel it all. Would their dream be silenced before it ever took flight? The pulsating doubts danced in her mind. What if all their hopes were met with disapproval? A picture of that vibrant conference room, infused with laughter and trust, collided with an image of cold dismissal from unseen critics. As she stood there, Tommy's small hand tugging at her leg, all she could think about was his future. "Thank you for letting me know," she finally said, voice steadier than she felt. "But I can't just back down now. You have to consider the long-term implications," the voice advised. "We're just looking out for you." Tommy continued observing her, his innocent eyes wide with confusion. "Mommy, are we going to make rainbows?" She knelt beside him, grasping onto the warmth of his presence for strength. "Yes, sweet boy, we're going to make the biggest rainbow ever." But as she hung up the phone, uncertainty gripped her heart like a vice. The dream, so alive just moments ago, began to feel like glass, fragile and vulnerable to breaking. "Let us find the others," she said, taking a deep breath. "We need to talk about what's next." Her voice was stronger now, moving toward the conference room where the remnants of clarity still danced in her mind. With each step, a flicker of resolve began to spark within her. Once inside, Sarah was met by warm smiles and encouraging nods. The team buzzed with excitement, discussing the successes of their meeting, the shared stories still resonating in the air. She took her place at the front, Tommy standing proudly beside her, armed with his crayons. "All right, everyone, we need to regroup," she started, looking at each hopeful face surrounding her. "We've made a decision to forge ahead with this initiative. But first, I want to address some concerns." A wave of apprehension rippled through the room, but Sarah stood firm, her heart steady as she gazed into their eyes. "There are fears about backlash, how sharing our experiences could hurt the company." But she paused, feeling the shift in the air. "I truly believe authenticity matters. We can create something powerful by being real." Maria nodded fiercely. "Every story we share is a step toward healing. If we cower behind the wall of uncertainty, we'll lose the spark we created." "I'm with you, Sarah." The validation filled the room with renewed energy. One by one, hands shot up, voices emerged with enthusiasm, ready to reclaim this vision. "We can prepare. We can anticipate the questions and thoughts before they come at us." Tommy's tiny voice chimed in. "And we can draw rainbows to remind everyone how colorful we are." Laughter erupted, and as the team rallied together, Sarah felt the momentum build. They shifted their focus, crafting their approach, discussing potential narratives, and how they would frame their stories for the public. Her nervousness began to fade as the passion ignited in the group. "Let us lead with compassion," Sarah said, her mind racing yet full. "We're all here to share our journeys with purpose and intention. If we can show people the strength found in vulnerability, we can bridge gaps and inspire others, even those who might initially oppose us." Jake leaned forward, his brow furrowing thoughtfully. "And we need to showcase our strengths too. There's power in solidarity, strength in numbers. We're not just a group, we're a community." "Yes," another voice erupted. "United, we can face anything." Together, they brainstormed ways to build defenses against skepticism, empowering each other as they formulated their plans. The fear that loomed earlier now transformed into an unwavering sense of purpose. "So, who's ready to turn our ideas into action?" Sarah asked, her heart swelling with gratitude for her newfound family in this hopeful endeavor. Hands shot up again, even Tommy raising his colorful crayon in excitement. As the laughter echoed around her and worked its way into her heart, Sarah felt the tides shift. They were no longer just a team, they were a force, ready to illuminate the dark corners of the world with their stories. It was a sight she knew would last, like a rainbow shining brightly after a storm. "From this day forward, we'll be the voice for those who cannot stand up for themselves," she declared, looking deep into their eyes, her own filled with determination. "Together, we'll build, we'll create, and we'll rise, no matter the obstacles in our way." And just like that, they took that first courageous step into the unknown. Together, stronger than fear, into a future they would shape brightly with colors that would never fade. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this powerful message. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.